morning and welcome to Wise Women Weekdays. I am Lucinda Wild and today we're in the kitchen with Jane Hedgewitch. She's going to be talking about wild swimming. What else, Jane? What else are you going to talk about?
Wild herbs and their medicinal properties and how we can add them into our daily food on a easy level, even if it's just having the odd nettle tea. And wild swimming is hugely beneficial, but obviously that's you can't eat that.
Well, I don't know. I've eaten seaweed while I've been in the water.
Yeah. Oh,
You
seaweed, yes.
Yeah,
seaweed.
you said
Lots of
try
seaweed.
this, and I ate it.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we maybe not quite wild swimming in the rock pools up to
No.
our knees in water. And Jane had a spectacular episode. She was stood on a large slippery rock and just slid backwards, and her coffee cup went over her shoulder.
Oh yeah.
And she just
Down
laid
down
there.
my dress, thank you. And I
Oh.
just sat in the rock pool. Yes.
Yeah.
So just so you know, any seaweed that are around the rock pools, if you cut them with scissors or be very careful not to pull them off, they're all edible, so you can go and have a nibble.
So every single seaweed off the coast of Sussex and
Yes.
the rest of the UK?
Yeah, there are some poisonous ones, but they're further in, deeper water. So even though you've got different types at different stages of the seashore,
Yeah.
so the top ones are the lighter, greener, more delicate sort of sea lettuces and the ulvas. Then you've got the brown and the darker ones like dulse, which is dulse is like a red ribbon,
Yes.
and that's the sign of a clean beach. And then if you go further out, it's the kelp.
So if there isn't dulse on the beach, is that because it's a bit grubby, the sea?
It can be. Yeah.
Okay.
It is a very clean living.
Clean living seaweed.
And then there is the oh God, what's it called? The truffle of seaweeds, which is out now, and it's literally it's only that tall. You know, is that the
Yes.
one I got you to try?
Yes.
The
It was it tastes really peppery
yeah,
and it's
pepper
a really
dulse.
special thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost tastes like mushrooms.
Yeah, so yeah. Which mushroom does it taste like? a magic mushroom?
Ooh, don't know. Just a bit umami and a bit mushroomy.
Yeah.
But going back to wild swimming.
Yes, because there seems to be like a lot of benefits to the sea, and not just, well, we'll move on to pollution. But the seaweed is good for you, but also swimming in the sea.
Yeah, so you've got, that's why the Victorians went down to Brighton. So obviously Brighton just used to be a little fishing village. And they came to take the air for health reasons. And it's to do with the ions. And it's to do with as the waves break.
Iodine?
No,
Is that
ions,
Is that
as in
different?
positive or negative
Okay.
ions. They're in the air. So as the waves crash, they change the ionosphere, I guess, from either positive to negative, I can't remember, but it's health beneficial, and that's why the Victorians, especially Prince Albert, whatever. But the main benefits, and this absolutely saved my emotional bacon during lockdown, was swimming, because it settles your vagus nerve, which is all your emotional stuff, so it just calms all your emotions down. And I would suggest, I guess, your immune system, and I don't know, it gets addictive.
So
as
tell
we
me
know.
about the vagus nerve and how that works with the seawater then, because I think my vagus nerve is definitely not calm.
Well, it would be if you went into the sea at this time of year. So obviously you can't just go in the sea if you haven't been swimming all year round now.
Yes, because I don't start till the spring, and
'cause
then I
even-
finish in the autumn.
Yeah, so it would be too cold and it'd be too much of a shock. But you build it up over the year.
Yes.
And yes, we wear, what do we wear? Wetsuit gloves, wetsuit boots, and then your cosy.
But not wetsuits, that's for wimps, right?
Well, I did wear a half wetsuit, a shorty, for the first winter, and I was the only person in the whole of the group. So I'm loosely connected to the Seaford Mermaids, which
Okay.
there's groups in Lewis all along the coast, and from lockdown it just absolutely mushroomed, didn't it? And when did we used to go? Was it before?
You got me wild swimming in the end of 2017.
Oh, blimey.
And
so long ago.
I was really reluctant to go in. I thought you were all mad. I remember sitting there watching. I thought it's like, these are mad middle-aged women.
And it is predominantly women of a certain age.
I ate a
some
sandwich
reason,
and
I
drank
don't
a coffee and watched all these women dive into the ooze. It was like a scene from a Virginia Woolf novel or something. All diving off the jetty.
Yes.
And swimming, coming out and looking radiant. I was like, right, I might try this one day.
Yes.
It took me, a good 6 months to actually do it.
Yeah, and then we did it quite a lot, obviously, through the summer, and it's a different type of experience swimming when it's warm. It's not the same. It's not, I don't know, well, I suppose it's the endorphins.
Yes.
Talking about that. So I think it's the endorphins that you get a real rush when you're cold, and you do have to know what you're doing. You have to have a hot drink. You need to get out quickly. Don't stay too long. If you start getting a bit of hypothermia, which is where you start getting really hot, that's definitely a time to come out, and not really go on your own.
Well,
just in case.
That's kind of a bit of a no-brainer to me. Is don't go diving into deep water, bodies of water that is freezing cold on your own when you're intoxicated or on any other substance.
No.
And if you haven't
kinda
acclimatised.
That's very true. So even though loads of people do it, especially at New Year,
yes,
but just mad people who are probably very hungover, but they tend to just go in and get straight back out again.
yes.
But I don't know what it is. Swimming, wild swimming or just cold water swimming is still growing. I think
Yes.
still people, and they do it in the lakes in London. It doesn't have to be the sea. It can be inland water, which can get very cold because it's a sort of, I was going to say stagnant. It's not stagnant, but it doesn't move, does it? So
Yes.
it drops its temperature, or the rivers, or
Yeah.
lots of other places.
Because there's the place over in the village on the outskirts of the town that we live, and we're not supposed to go there. We're actually trespassing. But
Well,
it's
old
a lovely
sand pits.
Yeah,
yes.
the old sand pits. Yeah, and that's a nice place to swim. But there is the mud when you're getting in and out, and I wasn't keen on that.
Yeah,
But
you get like little baby frogs and
the baby frogs were special.
orchids, and it's all very beautiful. It's been naturalised, hasn't it? So it's lovely.
So it's not just about the water though. It's being in that natural environment and taking part in nature.
Yeah, and combine it with taking your dog for a walk and.
Well, I could do that with mine because he's mental.
Well, some dogs.
Some dogs, some cockatoos, they're always welcome.
Yes.
Because they just kind of bimble along together, don't they, and have a nice time.
Yeah,
Whereas,
well, especially like we go to the Wild Garlic Woods, and it is really muddy, but yeah, my dogs love running through it.
It will be wild garlic season again soon, won't it?
Depending on how the winter goes, could even be the end of February if you go and have a look for wild garlic. So it's there's usually, wherever it grows, it's very voracious and it takes over.
Yes.
Or there's none at all, and you can usually smell it before you see it. But it needs, I think, definitely water. It tends to be near streams and marshy stuff, as opposed to, I haven't really found it up in the Ashdown Forest because that's all sandy.
Yes.
And there aren't any, but there is a different.
The place that you've took me, the soil isn't clayey or sandy there. It's not clayey. Clayey isn't even a word. It's not a chalk soil, is it? And it's not a clay, and it's not sand. It's kind of like woodland floor. So it's like all the decomposed mulch. Is that what you call it, the mulch, when the leaves go on the ground?
Yeah, it does grow there, and it will grow all by the side of the stream, but it does tend to need its sort of bulbs in water, I think it seems to, anyway. Or, which is what I've been using my pestos since September, October, is a 3-cornered leek, which you can pick still now. It hasn't started flowering yet. It's sort of finishes as the wild garlic, the ram's start, and if you look for it, it's got leaves like bluebell leaves, so big sort of arching leaves, and they tend to be around. I pick urban foraging as well as wild foraging, but urban particularly at sort of parks you'll probably find it, and that's a garlicky chivy one, and that's what I'm using at the moment until
So why is eating wild and foraged foods better than going to the supermarket and buying a packet of leeks, for example?
For many reasons. Obviously, it depends where you pick it. So the ideal spot is obviously away from roads, away from any pollution that you can see. But generally, if you can get out, or even in parks, because I think it's something you can forage anywhere. You can forage in your back garden. I've knocked on people's doors because they've got a huge tree that's, elderberries or something, and I'll pick them and then give them some jam back, or all sorts of places. But something that's growing around your area will have the same energetic resonance as you, because you're a being in this area and so is the plant. So I think that's as important as its medicinal and health-giving properties, because it's going to resonate with you more than something growing in a polytunnel in Spain, for instance.
Because that's essentially a dead food, isn't it, really, if it's been grown in a polytunnel, is that right?
Well, it's not going to have cultivated versions of what is wild, won't have the same medicinal properties or the bioactive compounds. So there's a plant that grows on the seashores, sea beet, which you tried, and it's like big spinach leaves but a lot thicker.
Is this endangered?
Or
is it the sea broccoli that's...
the sea kale.
Sea kale.
Well, we have to, yes, that's, you're not really meant to pick much of that because it got overpicked by the Victorians before lettuce was, I don't know where lettuce comes from, but before lettuce was a thing, they would harvest all along the shorelines, especially any shingle, and it's a huge, great big, beautiful bluey grey curly leafed kale, and their leaves are literally that big, some of them, and the Victorians just used to ship it all up to London, so they are protected now, and you just can sort of take the odd leaf. But sea beet, obviously they must have found out that the root was sweet because it's the ancestor of beetroot and sugar beet.
Okay.
So you can eat beetroot leaves, and it has a similar flavour, but it won't have the bioactive compounds that the wild one has, or will it? That won't have necessarily grown somewhere as unpolluted. Unless
so eating the beetroot leaves.
Yeah.
Is that like so you could make a salad with the beetroots and the beet leaves, and they're in season at the moment.
Yes,
so,
that's true. Yeah. You could make a coleslaw or a winter salad. I love winter salads. Like cook some sweet potato and put seeds in, and Oh, I saw a really nice recipe for sprouts. Caesar salad made with sprouts.
Oh.
Again, what's the word? It's the common name for all the cabbage family. Can't think of it at the moment, but they've got lovely properties. So yeah, Brussels sprouts, if that's local and organic and all that lot. But yes, and so going back to the wild stuff. So if you're eating, wild stuff is seasonal. So you're eating what is probably the right thing to eat at the right time of year, as opposed to having everything available all year round from God knows where around the world. So all the berries that I picked in the autumn had all immune supporting, vitamin C's, antioxidants, all that sort of stuff.
So these were helping the elderberries and the rose hips.
Yes.
That you've put into an elderberry immune syrup. There is a well-known version of it that's available in the shops. Is that as good as what you can make yourself?
No, because I think it's got it's also got I'm not sure it's got preservatives, but it's going to have a lot more sugar.
Okay.
I do know that they're a lot sweeter, and the proportion of the fruit to the sugar is lower than if you make it yourself. But what's that? Oh, it's that thing. So I was also going to say that the flowers of the hawthorn or the elderberry, they have really amazing properties as well. So, you know, I think that's where cordials came from as well, because elderflowers traditionally, as a country recipe, would be infused in vinegar and honey, and that's how what they call shrubs. That's it, shrubs.
I've actually got an elderflower shrub that I made with local honey in the fridge, and I've been using it in salad dressings.
Yeah.
Because it feels like having a taste of spring all year round.
Yeah, and it's supporting your immune system. So the flowers.
Elderflowers and berries support the immune system.
Yes. And then you know, I've got into hawthorn, which I've done as a double tincture. So I've done the flowers and the leaves in the summer into alcohol, you know, vodka of reasonable quality, and you leave them in a dark cupboard for a few months. You take them out of the alcohol, leave the alcohol in the cupboard, and then once the berries arrive, put the berries in and do it again. So it's got a florally, almondy, berry flavour. It's really nice, actually.
So it's a double bubble tincture, essentially.
Yes.
So it's the flowers infused into alcohol, and then you leave that in the cupboard and you strain it, and then you put it back in the cupboard. I'm just reiterating, so it's sinking into my old tired brain. And then when the fruits come out, the berries, the hawthorn berries, you then add them, which is interesting because I was told that hawthorn berries were poisonous as a kid.
Oh, as a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
not
people
to eat
used
them.
to say, oh, don't go near anything red. That's quite a thing.
That was it, because everything red is dangerous and poisonous, and it's nature's way of saying, don't eat me. But that's not true.
Then that's not true because, well, it's usually it's how you process them. So hawthorns have got quite a big stone in them, haven't they? But they taste like really miniature avocados with a sort of appley flavour. So they are edible, but I guess the stones aren't poisonous, and even if you swallowed it. So, but this is what I mean. We're so disconnected from our medicine chest that is Mother Nature around.
So how did we become disconnected from our medicine chest?
A reset, like we're having now. So it was the Industrial Revolution. Particularly this country, we left all our knowledge in the villages with the elders who had all that knowledge, who stayed behind because they weren't useful. So everyone was forced in various ways, weren't they, to go and work in the factories and work in the cities. So we've lost the connection, and of all the cultures around the world, Britain is more disconnected than any other culture.
So
lots
British
of other cultures
culture
still do it.
Has really been affected by the Industrial Revolutions.
There was a huge reset to break up our communities, break up all our self-sufficiency and being with the land. Can you imagine going to work in the industrial places and
like a mill?
Yeah, mills or just factories.
Mines.
Yeah, the mines were a bit out of the cities. But I remember watching a programme about bread, and to make enough bread for everyone, they put chalk powder in, or they put hideous stuff to sort of pump it, make it go further, and no nutritional value.
That hasn't changed. I mean, the substances they put in to make the food go further has changed,
true.
But the thinking behind it hasn't. I mean, I wouldn't eat a loaf of processed white bread from Tesco. I mean, because I actually don't know what's in it apart from toxic grains and maybe preservatives and
and it's did you know Margaret Thatcher because she was a chemist, she trained as a chemist, she invented the process of really quick you know, when dough rises to create the sliced loaf. So it's only, I think it only has one fermentation.
Yes.
And then it's ready to go because of all the chemicals in it. So it isn't, for me, sliced bread isn't actually a food.
You know, I don't consider it a food, I consider it an edible substance.
Yes.
But it is nice wrapped around a fish finger, which again isn't food.
Yeah.
But knowing it is one thing. Being completely in the dark and believing that these foods are good for you and you can feed your family on it is something else.
Well, was it you or someone else I was talking about saying about getting rid of fast food companies because of the environmental impact they're creating?
Yes.
Was it you?
Yes.
It's huge.
Oh yes, so if we got rid of fast food, then CO2 would drop.
Yeah, and the animal husbandry would be better.
Yes.
I can't bear the thought of especially cows not even getting grass, are they? They're indoors or they're on sand in America, aren't they? They're just in corrals, and that's how they live their lives. Or in Italy, you go to Italy and you don't see a cow in a field because they're all in huge great sheds.
Poor things.
So yeah.
I mean, I'm quite happy to eat lamb at the moment, I have to say, because I can see the sheep from my front window and they're on the downs. But then I'm very selective and fortunate enough to be able to afford this. So how would you, if somebody's on a really tight budget, how could you encourage them to step away from the toxic supermarket foods and start eating cheaper, healthy food?
And it is cheaper. It is kind of cooking from scratch, but you know, if you've got a local market, we've got sort of an organic market happening on a Friday, but also we've got the guys in the precinct that it's all wholesale fruit and veg that's really cheap.
Yes.
And then you just do batch cooking, but you know, stews and soups and curries and chilies, and then if you pick some wild stuff to go in them to up the nutritional value even more, and that's what I'm saying. We're coming into the spring, and as we come out of more the sedentary sort of hibernating time, the nettles and cleavers, you know, sticky bobs that you used as kids throw at people.
Kids don't get off their phones long enough to throw a sticky bob, do they?
They're all cleansing herbs because that's what is a good thing for our bodies, to have a good cleanse, to clear out all the sort of root vegetables and all the stuff that we've eaten in the winter. And
so as the seasons change, nature provides us with the food that we can eat seasonally, and that's a way of preserving health.
Yes, and it it supports your health, doesn't it? Because it's you know, when you need it. So at the moment it's still sort of berries for immune syrup, so I'm selling a lot of that because you know, it just helps if you've got the lurgy. And my mum had the lurgy over Christmas. Proper the lurgy over Christmas, staying with me, and she had a bottle and a half of my elderly immune syrup, and she did call it a medicine, so that was quite nice. But again, these are old, really old country recipes. We've had them for millennia.
Is your mum, did she have the injectable?
She's had all of them.
Oh, all of them?
Yeah.
So she's pretty much radioactive then?
Yeah, and flu as well.
Oh. Okay. Well, her body, her choice. But what I'm trying to get to is that the rest of you haven't been
jabbed. Are we allowed to say jabbed?
I don't know.
Jabbed, I think it's alright. No, my
stabbed?
kids. No,
None
stabbed.
of you have been stabbed
Not
with
my kids.
Yeah.
Not me, but my sister has.
Yes.
She had 2, which I think a lot of people do, don't they? They've had 1 or 2, and then they go, "Oh, I'm not sure about this." I haven't had a conversation with her to see if she's had any more, because we're not quite on the same page.
So over Christmas, did you and the kids all come down with the lurgy?
No.
No, none of you did?
No.
And you
Mum.
haven't received the injectable?
Anything that supposedly helps protect you against that. No, God no.
No, you're unprotected and you didn't get it.
Oh no.
That's
It's
interesting.
Yes,
It's
I
really
know.
interesting.
No.
Is it? Do you think it's because you dose yourself up with elderberries?
Well, I do and I don't. Sometimes I don't tend to eat my products. But I give them to other people and then go, oh, can I try it? But my immune syrup, I do keep it in the cupboard. And especially for kids because it's sweet.
Yeah.
I sell a lot to families and sort of bigger bottles for people as well because... But it's not just elderberry, anything with loads of vitamin C. So I'm going to try and... Well, I've got a challenge for myself to make an immune syrup with things that are around now because all my berries that I've saved and bottled and jarred and frozen have gone. So how do I make an immune syrup now with the herbs that are around? So nature doesn't stop, does it? It just slows down. So the nettles are this high, the new fresh ones. So when they get to about that, I'm going to go and pick them. Yarrow, dandelion.
I remember you telling me that nettles are quite a unique plant because they have vitamin C and iron, and you need vitamin C to absorb iron. So it's like almost, well, it is a natural superfood, right?
It is. Yes.
But we don't put like raw nettles in salad boxes, do we?
No, we don't.
No, we learned about that one. Some poor lady, when we had a vegan food bar, we put a wild salad out and I'd accidentally put in a live nettle and she ate it and burnt her lips. Luckily, she was
all right
about it.
It's good. It's nettles also have got histamine in, haven't they? So it helps, it stimulates. People used to
Roman soldiers.
Especially for an arthritis as well, to sort of stimulate stuff. But yes, so nettles, iron and vitamin C together. So brilliant. 2 heads in a cup of hot water is really nice, and they're really sweet. And it gets rid of all the... So nettles are only stingy nettles. There are other varieties, but the stingy nettles I think have got the most properties. And my theory around them stinging is to protect themselves because otherwise they just get eaten by everything because they are a superfood.
Yes.
So you have to get past that sort of thought about it. And it's only oxalic acid on the end of a hair, a little tiny droplet that then goes into your skin, and that's what irritates you. But oxalic acid is in rhubarb, it's in gooseberries, it's an edible substance. It's not an acid that can really do any damage. But I think it's the way it gets into the skin just irritates you.
Yes, because if you pick a nettle in the right way, so the hairs don't brush you, and I have done it, picked a nettle without being stung.
Yes. Yeah, well you just handle them gently. But it's more if you go in backwards, and I just hold them by a leaf, pull them down, and then you go in from the back. But then quite often I get stung. You get stung, but it's just...
It's one of those things, isn't it? You
Yes,
want to get the nettles,
of...
you get stung. But because I found the more that I picked them, the more immune I came to being stung.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's only if I'm picking them on a large scale that I use scissors, so I can hold it and scissor it.
So but with pollution in the air in mind, do you think the pollution affects the quality of things like nettles, elderberries, or not?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's more to plants, which are living beings. They have a consciousness of some sort, as everything does, even rocks and crystals and trees, obviously. I think they might adapt to it, a bit like we are. We're having to adapt to 5G.
Yes.
So some people are affected by it, and I think maybe some people aren't. And also, when I've been doing my research over these plants, which I'm getting more into, hawthorn and yarrow are interdimensional plants. So hawthorn has always been associated with the fairy realm.
Oh, that's where I'm
Fae
from.
person. So that's why that, you know, again, it's such a magical tree. So maybe, and yarrow, do you know the I Ching, the sort of Chinese sort of oracle? So you throw yarrow sticks, and it used to be called the yarrow oracle because they are multi-dimensional as well. So I'm wondering whether
What does multi-dimensional mean?
well, it's used, I guess, to be able to access other dimensions. I've only just found this out, so I really want to look into it. So I'm wondering whether all plants, as we are, we're multi-dimensional beings. We just have got very blinkered and think that we're very small and singular and pathetic, and we're not. So I'm wondering whether plants, so that's what I mean with pollution, maybe they are energetically okay and then we're taking on the energy from it, or maybe they somehow can synthesize pollution, because some plants can, think of CO2, the trees take it and the plants take it and then they give off oxygen, so it's not necessarily poisonous to them.
So trees need CO2 to survive because they need it for photosynthesis. I love that word. That word and spelling it right got me through my biology exam when I was 13.
You used it every
time.
opportunity.
Yeah. And at that point in my life, a long word that I could spell and know the meaning of was quite an elusive thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's so it's phenomenal. So if you think about it, when further back in time, way, millions of years, we were beings that came onto this planet and we didn't need to eat, from what I can gather. So we would only need sunlight and prana, which is, just life force, isn't it? But the sunlight is all, light is all the colours of the spectrum.
Yes.
So what we've done is picked things that have used those the light spectrum and turned it into something, and then we now eat that plant, and the beetroot that's the red, the apricot that's the orange, the three-cornered leaf that's the green. So that's why people talk about rainbow diets as well.
Yes.
So there's so many different ways of looking at things. There's also fasting, which someone told me the other day that they've been looking at people using MRI machines who are doing fastings, and that's kind of where I'm going. It's the best and healthiest thing for your body to just give it a rest. And it takes so much energy to do all this food and this whole 3 meals a day bollocks and all the 5 veg or 20 or whatever it is. It's all upside down, because actually we need to eat less, and as our frequency is rising and we're becoming less Homo sapien and Homo luminous, we aren't going to need as much food. So lighter food and less of it, and our natural state is probably just to have one healthy something, even if it's quite small, per day. None of this breakfast and
if a fat influencer would challenge you on that, and they would also say that obesity was genetic, what would you say to a fat influencer?
A fat influencer?
Yeah, because they've all started to die because they're so obese.
They're huge, are they?
Yeah, have you not seen them on Instagram?
No,
they're like
I don't.
enormous, they've got like breathing tubes, they're saying that eating a chicken burger or a donut is self-love, when you can actually see that these people
poor body
their bodies are giving up. And there's a YouTuber that I follow, I won't say her name, but I really admire her, and she calls them out.
Wow. Well, it's become so normal, and it's so the opposite. Everything's reversed, isn't it? So I just think getting used to not being useless eaters, stuffing our faces. It's not our natural way of being.
Sorry, I'm looking for the dibber because I'm thinking
it's there.
Oh gosh, yes, there it is. It wasn't that I wasn't interested in what you were saying. I was thinking where have I put it? Because
Yes.
I lose things all the time. And I'm wondering, maybe it's down to poor diet or environmental stresses that my memory is a bit scatterbrain.
Yes, I want to look into that actually. There are quite. Oh. See, I was looking at something you said good for memory, but can I remember it?
Oh, you see, that's where I'm at all the time. It's
Yeah.
like I'm doing something, and then I forget what I'm doing. I forget where I put my dibber.
Walking into a room going, what is it that I came into this room for?
But this can get labelled as neurodiverse or menopause, and it might not be that. It might be something else, like a loss of connection to spirit or
I think
environment.
that's my excuse. The more spiritual you become, I think the more less not grounded, but less practical. You know, you're not interested in doing sort of those kind of things because your head's up somewhere else. And I think the more we're kind of
ascending,
yes, the less. Well, yeah, I don't know. That's my theory.
So. I'm going to wrap this up here. It's been a really illuminating conversation, Jane, which we'll probably both forget in less than 24 hours, so we'll have to watch the video to remind ourselves what we said. Yes. So, thank you for watching with us, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes when Natalia joins us for part 2 of Jane the Hedgewitch.
Goodness.